Hello there, everyone. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome back to the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today, we are continuing on with the My Tiers series, and here to take a look at the rookie wide receivers is Michael Sicoli. Mike, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. I'm just happy to be here talking rookies. It may be June, but it still feels like it's a May and April draft season, so I'm happy for this.
Your screen is taunting me. As I look, you have the mic I want.
It's a Christmas gift. I got very lucky. I bought everything else for it. It took months to find the right equipment to hook it up to something. All I had was the mic to begin with, but
Oh,
I
see,
am
and that's
happy
what
with it.
I was going to buy it on Amazon, but it comes with the whole interface or whatever. And the interface, the whole package is like $500.
Yeah.
So I never want to buy it because I'm not sure if the mic doesn't work without the interface and all that. Good to know. I'm glad I didn't just say screw it and buy the mic.
I paid for a different interface. I didn't go with the 500 package. I went with a cheaper interface and just bought the mic on it. So I went and bought a little cheap mic stand to put it on. But yeah, it does need the interface to work.
Yeah, Amazon has the mic alone for like $150, and I was gonna get that, and then
that's what I got,
said,
which is still pricey. But
yeah, well, that's what I mean. But I'm glad I didn't know if it worked without the interface. Now I do. I don't know how we've got sidetracked on this, but that is the mic I want. Either that or one of those Sures, but maybe Christmas time. Anyways, you want to take a second here to tell everyone where it is they can find your work?
Sure. Twitter is where I put everything out there nowadays. And so you got my name right below here, Michael Sicoli. So Michael __ Sicoli. I was too late to get the one with just one. So that's where you can find it. A lot of stuff on Twitter, some sports betting tips that I'm starting to do nowadays, IDP stuff, offensive stuff, all the fantasy football, NFL stuff you could possibly want. So yeah, check me out.
All righty, let's get right into it. First up, we have Andre Yoshivas. Where would you like him?
Oh, you could just throw him right down to the bad pile. I'm not a big Andres type of guy. I don't think I need to spend too much time on it, but didn't get the draft capital, and he's the type of guy that for me to warrant interest, I need to wait.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a prove it to me, and then I'll be interested. Fair enough. Probably a similar one here. A.T. Perry.
A.T. Perry is actually someone I like a little bit. I still am going to put him in the bad territory. He's higher to me than Andres would be, but you know, I liked him at Wake Forest. Incredibly productive. Just feels a little bit like a one-trick pony. You know, 6th-round draft capital, not great, but good landing spot in New Orleans. All he has to do is beat out Rashid Shaheed, but it's still going to be a long shot for him because he's a fairly raw at everything else. But he's a physical freak.
Maybe that's the difference. I prefer Yoshivas just for his speed, but I also like him over Perry because I'm higher on Rashid Shaheed. I'm a Saints fan, and I thought he was a lot better than people give him credit for.
He was. I played him in DFS a couple of weeks very happily, and then you catch the long ball, and I'm like, wow, this guy can fly. And I really do hope he works out.
Next up is a guy I was really, really high on before the draft, but I'm not sure I like the landing spot. Cedric Tillman.
Yeah, same way. I thought he was the better of the Tennessee one. Spoiler here, but I like Cedric Tillman. I have him in the average tier.
No, I completely agree. I thought he was much better than Hyatt. I think the only reason Hyatt was a thing was because Tillman was out.
We're on the same page already here because that's what I think as well. I think he's a much more complete player. And in terms of, I was talking about it pre-draft, if you're looking for the traditional X receiver, Cedric Tillman is the best one in this class. And there just weren't many big physical guys. So I thought he might go earlier, you know, the 2nd round even, just because he's a rare type of archetype in this class of the outside receiver. But no, still 3rd round, you know, a lot of opportunity to make a step forward in Cleveland. Very open receiving room.
Here is a guy that has no reason why anyone should be interested in him, but whether it be the Combine or the Senior Bowl, Charlie Jones just seemed to have a little something. I don't think the chances of him hitting are very good, but where do you see him?
I'll toss him on the bat. It's a mix of landing spot and Combine. People like him, but I haven't really ever been that interested. I was surprised he went as early as he did. I believe it was the 4th round, and I'm just not. I don't see the route there. There's no world that he becomes the wide receiver 2 on this team. Very low chance of him becoming the 3, and I don't think he's that great of a prospect to begin with.
Dontavian Wicks.
Fun guy. Because I talked about him as a sleeper heading into the Senior Bowl, and he had a pretty good performance there too. But still have him in the bad category. Didn't get high draft capital. A lot of room to grow with Green Bay, but wasn't even the first wide receiver they took. So he's probably going more of a special teamer.
Then we have a guy who I thought was probably the most overrated receiver in the draft class, Jalen Hyatt.
Yep, I'm still of the opinion that he is overrated. I have him in the average tier. He's the lowest of my average tier. Because the opportunity is very much there in New York, and they were very high on him in the pre-draft process. And there's a world that it works out, but Tennessee and their wide receivers, especially guys that work as he does, winning downfield of just getting free releases all the time in Tennessee, I'm not encouraged that it translates very well, but it's a very wide open receiving room.
Oh, sorry.
All good. Take a sip. We talked about Jalen Hyatt. You might need a sip of water.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, I just went spontaneously dried up there. But from a guy that I was lower on to a guy I'm higher on, we have Jaden Reed.
Look at us on the same page over and over again. Because I love Jaden Reed. You might be surprised by this. I have him in the good tier. I have him in the a fairly high tier for how I view this class. I think he was excellent at Michigan State. I think he has a real opportunity to lead Green Bay in targets this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he out-targeted Christian Watson. I don't anticipate that, but Christian Watson plays the downfield threat. Jaden Reed works in between. I think we could see a day one starter in Reed, and he doesn't have much to overcome there.
Next up, another guy I also liked later in the draft process, Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah, here we go. Now we're going to differ because I wasn't a big fan of Jonathan Mingo. Just somebody that I wasn't really on board with before and was shocked with how high he went. A lot of opportunity in Carolina, and he's got great size, 6'1", 226, great arm length too. But I feel like he should have produced more in college than he did. He was a late declare in terms of senior year. Never also didn't score more than 5 touchdowns, which you could put that up to Ole Miss being Ole Miss, but I wasn't that impressed compared to what I thought he should have done at his size, at his age.
Where do you have him?
Sorry, I don't know if I said that. Average. I do him in the average tier. He's about middle of the pack of the average tier for me.
Next up, Jordan Addison.
Now here's a guy I like. I'm a Steeler fan that's not a big Kenny Pickett man, so I've been a big watcher of Jordan Addison for a while because he made Kenny Pickett a first-round pick. And yeah, sure, to some people he had a down year at USC, but not to me. It was still a very good year, and I have him in the great tier. I think he lands in an offense that was third in pass attempts last year. I still anticipate to be among the top, and in 3 wide receiver sets, they went from bottom 3 to top 5 when they brought in Kevin O'Connell to be head coach. So much opportunity. Even Adam Thielen, had around 800 yards without being a good wide receiver anymore. So Jordan Addison has a lot to work with when Justin Jefferson gets to take the top off.
Next up, Josh Downs.
This is another guy that I like a lot. I'm a little bit nervous about the landing spot. I really like Josh Downs in the pre-draft process, and I still do. I have him in the average tier, my second highest in the average tier, ahead of Mingo, actually. And I think that he's the best yards after catch guy in this class, short of JSN. And maybe Zay Flowers ahead, and Quinn Johnson. Sorry. So let me rephrase that. Top 5 rack guy in this class. And the size is a worry. But he did a great job of carrying UNC. He was the offense, and I think that's an incredibly underrated thing in this evaluation prospect. Such a high dominator rating, very high on Josh Downs. Very open receiving room, albeit smaller receiving pie in Indianapolis.
Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Yep, elite. We'll talk some on the elite. Let's throw that up there. JSN's an elite prospect. He would have been even higher if he was healthy. He would have been a top 10 draft pick if he was healthy for his junior season. But we saw as a sophomore that he outproduced Garrett Wilson. He outproduced Chris Olave. Was one of the highest producing players in college football that year. And sure, then he got hurt. He missed a season, but he's still incredibly young. I don't think he's a slot-only player like some people say. I think he's somebody that's going to be an amazing fantasy producer in 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, I thought this was a deep class. I think I have 3 elite, 3 great, 3 or 4 good and then a whole bunch of average in mine, I actually don't mind the majority of these receivers, and he was one of my 3 elite.
You had 3
Next up,
elite? Interesting.
3
Okay.
elite. Yes, I do. And they're the second one you might be able to guess. The third one you have no chance of guessing. But next up is Justin Shorter, who
Justin
is not
Shorter.
my other elite one.
I'm happy to hear it. But yeah, day 3 guy, end up in Buffalo, which is a pretty good spot. He's the guy who got drafted because he was a great high school recruit and never translated it to the college level. So it's a total lottery pick that the Bills are throwing out there, and that's what he is for fantasy as well. He's a bad prospect, just somebody. If you're not doing it in college, you typically are not going to suddenly turn around for the NFL. So
Next up, Kayshon Boutte.
yeah, not my guy. Not my guy. I've never understood it, but ever since the injury, he hasn't done anything, and he looks different. He looks like the injury has sapped him. I have him in the bad tier. He's one of my lower
Just
ranked
one
guys out
sec.
there.
Let me show you. Let me show you. Let me show
Don't
you.
you dare!
Right there.
No, Aaron.
That's my
What is
second
the
of 3
science?
elite.
What is the science behind that? Please tell me.
I believe like that that freshman season was so good. I get it. He slipped, character concerns, injury issues. There is every reason of why he's going to be dog shit, except he gives me that Antonio Brown, Tyreek Hill vibe where there was some reason why he slipped and it wasn't talent. And if he ever manages to get his shit together, he has probably more talent than anyone in this class, I think. I get it. It's a long shot. I don't think he's ever going to get there, but talent-wise, I think he's probably the best in this class.
He tested far too poorly for me to trust that he'll translate on the NFL level. That was abysmal testing at the combine, and I don't know what the hell he was doing those measurables if he was actually going to test anywhere near what he did. But
terrible agent.
Listen, yeah, if he's what he is his freshman year, power to him. He's going to be excellent. He's going to be a great value for the Patriots. It's an open receiving room for him to take over. But he hasn't been good in a very long time.
No.
And guys that fade off that hard,
yeah,
I don't see it bouncing back. And he reminds me of another Antonio, Antonio Callaway. How about that? It's not the Antonio I want on my fantasy teams.
I think he has his ceiling, like his max outcome is by far the best in this class. His floor is he never plays an NFL game. He maybe never makes a practice squad. So I get there's a huge range of outcomes. I just, he's so cheap. If I can get him in the 4th and 5th rounds of rookie drafts, I'm taking a shot. I got him on waivers the other day after a rookie draft.
Yeah.
The possibilities there. I get it. It's a real long shot, and I would not invest any capital in him, but I like him.
No, there's reasons for it.
Marvin Mims.
I have him the top of the average tier. He's closer to good than below average. I like him quite a lot. My only hesitation is obviously the size, but second round draft investment handpicked by Sean Payton. If you want to read into that, we have a very uncertain receiving room going into next season of Cortland Sutton. We're talking about him leaving now just through trade or something. And he's, he feels like he's the odd man out there. Tim Patrick is coming off a major injury. Jerry Jeudy will be on the roster and is a good player, but there's room for 2 to succeed. So Marvin Mims was someone who was really good analytically and somebody that I think we would be talking more if he was just a bigger guy. But I'm going to count on him making it work. I have him in the average tier.
I keep moving this one around. Have you noticed this is wrong? I think that's wrong.
I'm trying to.
It's supposed to be Michael Wilson. Is it Rondell Moore's headshot?
It looks like Rondell Moore from I have my screen split, so it's a little bit small for me.
One sec.
It looks like
I've had this before where last time I took it out because I said, no, that's not. I said, that's not Michael Wilson. That's Rondell Moore. But as I look at it now, I'm not so sure. One sec. I'm Googling this.
No, let's fact check it.
Because this is not the first time it's come up. No, that's Rondell Moore. That's definitely Rondell Moore.
A little bit of a size difference. The headshot helps the size difference.
Yeah, when I looked at it before and I said, because I had him on a team, a dynasty team on Sleeper for the longest time, and I said, I've seen this headshot 100 times. This isn't him, but it's okay. So for the sake of this, because I can't cut and paste it in the middle of the stream, sure. Let's say this is Michael Wilson and not Rondell Moore.
Well, Michael Moore Wilson is going to be a bad prospect for me. Went higher than I thought he would, and I understand it. And if we're talking about somebody who has upside, if it somehow turns around, I think Michael Wilson is close to, he's somebody that I'm going to put in the bad that could very well finish in the good category because he got draft investment. He was a good producer in college. He just kept getting hurt. And he lands in a very open offense in Arizona that Marquise Brown, and that's really it since DeAndre Hopkins is gone. Rondell Moore is not established yet. We don't have a tight end outside Zach Ertz and whatever, Trey could be. So I understand it. He's the lottery pick I'm fine taking, but I just don't think it's going to work out in the long run. It's also
No,
going to be
probably not.
it's a poverty franchise. It's not working out right now. It's got a long way to being fantasy relevant.
Parker Washington.
Yeah, somebody that fell way deeper than I think everyone thought. So I have him in the bad tier just on draft capital alone. I don't think he was a bad prospect, but maybe, yeah, I think he was average to below average, and draft capital, you factor that in, and just, produced at Penn State, but didn't, turn into something that we're going to like for fantasy. So I have him in the bad tier.
Puka Nakua.
Here we go. Now, here's the guy I like. A guy, if you follow me on Twitter, I've been kind of pounding the train for this for a while. I have him in the below average tier, but I really want to put him in the average tier. Put him in the average tier. Put him in the average tier. Let's go with it. Let's plant our flag on Puka Nakua here. So, somebody that I think did almost everything well in college, short of just doing it at a bigger school. So I like what he brings to the Rams offense. He's already showing out at OTAs. It's wide open for someone to step up as a number 2. There's, Tyler Higbee's not that. Van Jefferson has shown that he's not that. Cam Akers is not a stellar receiving back or anything like that. So I think there's so much opportunity for Puka to have a big season, within the next couple of years, opposite of Cooper Kupp.
Next up, we have my wide receiver 1, Quentin Johnston.
Yeah, he's a guy that I went into the pre-draft process liking and kind of came out of it a little bit underwhelmed. And I understand, if we're talking about ceiling, you mentioned it before, I think Johnson has the highest ceiling in this class.
He body catches and can't run a route, but
that's my worry. And I still have him high. I have him in the good tier. I have him below Addison, but same level as Jayden Reed. I have him ahead of Jayden Reed, actually, but I like him. And his rack ability, he has this signature spin move that every single time he catches the ball, he spins off to his, I think it's his right, and all of a sudden he has gone down the sideline for 70. It happened at least 5 different times I watched it on tape, and he's really damn good with the ball in his hands. The problem is it just happens to hit his body first more often, and it's an issue. He just doesn't do the receiver stuff well. It could very well, he could very well learn all that stuff, which is why, I still like him. I still want to take that lottery shot on him, but I tend to be a little bit lower than the consensus on him.
Rashee Rice.
Yeah, below average. It was a guy that felt like he was going to get thrown off draft boards because of landing spot. It's the Chiefs and everything, and he was great analytically. Just that's really all he had was analytics, plus some pre-draft hype at showouts and workouts and things like that. I'm not reading into it. I'm not letting everything sway. He didn't produce. He wasn't somebody that was going to be amazing prior to him being drafted. If he wasn't drafted the Chiefs, we wouldn't be talking about him as much as we have. So I have him in the below average tier just because there is that upside because of what he analytically has put together, as well as the Chiefs connection, but wouldn't put him ahead of that.
Tank Dell.
This was somebody that I felt like I was too low on before the draft or after the draft, and I'm trying not to sway myself too much on it. I have him below average. The size is a concern for me. I love that CJ Stroud asked for him and everything like that. I love the rookie connection that a receiver and a quarterback can build, especially when you have so many unknowns in Houston. But you still wonder what the upside is for somebody with the size of Tank Dell. He'll probably be a slot only guy, and I don't know how much we can see fancy wise from him. So I have him in the below average tier.
Yeah, that's fair based on the size. Trey Tucker.
Trey Tucker, bad. I fully expect a good draft investment. Fully expect him to be a kick returner solely.
Yeah, Trey Palmer.
Somebody who's playing well in OTAs right now and is actually doing well. I have him in the bad tier because I wasn't high on him as a prospect, and I don't really want that sinking ship over there. No pun intended, honestly. But it's I didn't love him as a prospect, but he's someone I'm keeping my eye on waivers for sure.
Speedster Tyler Scott.
I like Tyler Scott, and I know Dane Brugler of The Athletic was a big fan of Tyler Scott. So I have him in the below average tier, despite what some perceive to be a bad landing spot and a not great investment. He fell to day 3, but I think he does a lot of things well. That who knows what this Bears offense is going to look like next year. Chase Claypool could be gone, Darnell Mooney could be gone. There's a lot of things that are up in the air. And I think Tyler Scott has, a chance to carve out his own role. So I like him as a stash.
Xavier Hutchinson is next.
Have him in the bad tier. I not really in love with the infatuation with him. CJ Stroud asked for a receiver, and it wasn't Parker Washington. So,
Yeah.
or it wasn't Xavier Hutchinson. So,
Yeah. It's Tank.
yeah, I'm not all that on board with him. He's a guy that needed draft investment for me to take a closer look. He didn't get it, so I'm not that into him.
And to wrap it up, Zay Flowers.
I was waiting for his name. I have him just ahead of Quentin Johnston. I have him that good tier. Not in the. I only have those two guys ahead, and that I think that really speaks to this class. Of this 2023 class was underwhelming for a lot of people, and I think that's because of how the receivers fell. At least in my opinion, you obviously are much higher on a lot of guys at the top, but
I would have that, I think, and then maybe that. I like these top, what's that, 6, 8? I like the top 8 a lot more than most people. And then I'm the exact opposite. Everyone seems to not be too bad on the middle guys. I love the top 8. I want nothing to do with anyone from the average tier down.
I'm the same way, just a little bit differently. I just have a shorter top 8. I like the top 5. I like JSN, I like Addison, I like Flowers, Johnson, and Reed. And then after that, we're in total crapshoot. Josh Downs was someone I liked pre-draft, but how much can he succeed really in Indianapolis? And he kind of reminded me of Paris Campbell, who came out of Indianapolis and couldn't really put it together there. So I'm almost going down the same road there. And you have so many question marks beyond that top 5 to me. And I'm a little bit disappointed. I was disappointed when I came out of this class feeling like I did, but I'm very interested in the top 5. I just have JSN and Jordan Addison as very clearly the top dogs in this because of both Addison being partly landing spot and me liking him, and JSN just being a near generational prospect in my eyes.
Alrighty, you want to take a second here? Once again, tell everyone where they can find your work.
Sure. I appreciate you having me. You can follow me again on Twitter at Michael__Sicoli. It's where I put a lot of my stuff. Again, NFL sports tips, doing some future bet articles right now. I do an IDP newsletter. The link to do so is in my Twitter bio. So all those things, be sure to check it out if you like what I had to hear. Like what you heard today, and be sure to obviously follow Aaron himself. He's a great guy.
Yeah, that's it. I seem to get a lot of views now, just not a whole lot of subscriptions.
Oh, well, then we got to fix that. Get this man some subscriptions.
Yeah, they're checking it out, but they're not staying all that much. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm getting there, so it's not bad. I have more followers than ever before, so I guess I can't complain. All right. Well, that wraps up my tiers on the rookie wide receivers with Michael Sicoli. Once again, I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. Thanks again to Michael for joining me, and thank you everyone for watching. Take care.